Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 17 of Khai. Hope you're having a wonderful day. We're going to get started with a new town today, the town of Tigan, of course, named after the wonderful extra detailing tools team that helped us get custom assets into CS2. Of course, we have Sully a little bit further down the coast, Triton as well. So now it's time to build the town of Tigan, which we're going to get started with a little time-lapse around the lake today, as this is going to be a real key feature of the build. So I thought we'd come in to where we time-lapsed up the water. So we've got some really cool ideas for here, taking inspiration really from a lot of the English countryside. We're going to do Town of Tigan with a lot of the UK pack. So I think that's where we'll start the build today, out here down this road. So I almost want this area here to kind of function as a bit of a kind of lord's manor, if you like, kind of the lord of the land who owns a lot of the property around here. And not kind of an old medieval lord, not that kind of almost local dictator, if you like, but just a lord of the land who owns a lot of the real estate around here and also has a very fancy house overlooking this little lake. So let's grab our road here. Also want to turn on our topography, and we're going to bring this up, and we'll probably just send this back into the road up here as another connection. Now let's find a place for the Lord's Manor. So I think right here, and we'll do some fun things with the roads and some decorating today, but let's do some very basic frames for right now. I was coming to our signature building, so I've been thinking what could we use for the Lord's Manor. There is the UK Executive Mansion, which does look quite nice. I would have liked something maybe a little bit bigger, but I think for luxury countryside homes, this should be okay, I think. We'll see. And his view is mostly maintained as well, of course, after last week's ore quarry, which you guys really enjoyed, by the way. Thank you for the support on that video. That's 100% light ratio, which is crazy for like 17,000 views, so thank you so much. Yes, but to the UK Executive Mansion, however, I don't really want it to have these walls on it, because the whole ground is going to be walled in, right? So I want to remove a little bit of them. And we might take other things off of this as well. We've got some of the planters down here as a bit of an allotment, haven't we? Maybe we can have a look at doing some stuff like that as well. But certainly outside of the mansion, I would like to do something a little nicer. So let's come to our curve tool, and I'm going to do little 8-meter curves here. Just so we have that round out the front of the house. Now, that does have a lot of road markings on it, doesn't it? So I think maybe even gravel road could be the play here instead, maybe. How about we go with that? We do still have the signs, which is slightly annoying. I think I can live with it though. So let's come into our decorations. I want to come into park, and I'd like to grab a fountain, if at all possible. Now, with it being circular, I think one of the circular fountains is going to make the most sense, isn't it? So how about that there? Not sure what's up with the water. Almost turns brown, doesn't it, in some cases? Perhaps someone's done some kind of dirty protest. in the fountain there. So we'll have that out the front, which I think will look quite fancy, won't it? So he's going to look right over the lake here. We'll do lots of detail around here today as well. Now, looking at inspiration around this, especially around the north of England, which is where I spent a lot of my life, these old kind of country estates tend to have a little bit of a kind of gatehouse to them, at least back in the day, what used to be a gatehouse. These days, they tend to be sort of renovated into somewhat nice countryside housing for people lucky enough to live here. So I think I'd like to replicate that at each end of the country estate here. So I'm going to look for a nice house that kind of looks a little bit like it could have been a gatehouse at some point. So although the asset I have in mind doesn't really exist in CS2 yet, I think what we will go for is one of the large UK detached houses. So almost when this was kind of a old Lord of the Land era, if you like. This would have been a gatehouse back in the day, but has now been converted into luxury countryside property. So I think we'll have a couple of these. Let's do one down this end, and then of course at the other end of the estate we'll have another one. And we'll have this one here. Hopefully we can also twist this one into position so it's somewhat the same. Seems to be happy there. We do need to bring sewage and power over here, which we'll have a look at some point. So now we have either end of the gates in. I'd like to grab a fence net lane and mark off the rest of the estate, essentially. So hedges are super common in the UK countryside, so I reckon we'll probably go with hedge lining. So let's run this around most of the estate. Probably, we're going to have a lot of our town centre around here today, so we'll probably take it up to the edge of the highway, I think. So let's draw in our fence here. And there we go. So everything within the hedge boundary is the country estate, essentially, and very much kind of private property. So a lot of these estates also dabble a fair bit in livestock as well, so we possibly could have some farms around here, but we certainly will have some farms down these roads, maybe up on the hill as well. So speaking of the hillside, actually, how are we doing for water? Not far away off needing a new tower, and we do have the French water tower to contend with as well, which I think would make a pretty good lighthouse up this side of the hill, wouldn't it, looking out over the ocean here? So why don't we have a little look at bringing that up here as well? And then with these roads set up in the time-lapse, let's start winding these up the hillside to roughly tallest point. Looks like it's going to be this little mound over here, doesn't it? Let's have that there. Let's get our water tower in. Fantastic. I should have a pretty nice viewpoint around all of Tigan up this way. And we can probably treat this as a bit of a walking trail as well. Anyone's ever been to the Lake District, in particular Ulverston, you might remember something that looks sort of like this with the salt and pepper shaker at Hode Hill, if you've ever been. Very reminiscent of this sort of infrastructure here. So, a bit of a walk that people can come on. We can probably mark out a bit of a well-trodden path as well during the detail time-lapse today, where people would walk up away from the road. But a little bit of a landmark as well for the town, isn't it? I think you'd be able to see that from most places. It's like someone's got a taxi to the executive's mansion. He's cutting through the estate at least. Yeah, you will need sewage. Let's go ahead and arrange our services here. Cool, that's everyone taken care of for that. So this is going to be kind of a livestock estate, and there's sheep on the grounds and whatnot. Do we actually have any sheep markers, I wonder? There are sheep spawners, although I have not played with these yet. So is that just... Oh no, there we go. There are some sheep spawning. Are you all just going to cluster in the same space? I can move you. Interesting. Procedural sheep. I didn't realise we... Wait, I can elevate their Y coordinate? Do they stay at that coordinate? Well, there's endless fun to be had there, isn't there? Oh god. There we go. There's endless fun to be had with that, which is very entertaining. However, we do need to make an episode. So they will spawn sheep in, so I think what I'm happy to do is just kind of mark out some sheep fields around the road. That this estate essentially becomes a working livestock farm at the same time. So let's have a look at fencing, which is the best. I think it's got to be this farm fence, hasn't it? I don't think there's any other option. So let's see how this looks. We'll expand the idea on the detail and time, that's of course. So just very cute wooden fencing, and then let's just set up some random field patterns using that hedge as a boundary. Does that look okay? Yeah, I'm happy with that. And then if those sheep spawners work, let's just have 1, 2, 3. Does that work? Where are you boys going? No, don't do that. Don't do that. Why are you doing that? The other ones didn't. Okay. I'm not sure what tool it is to remove these. There we go. It's the filter for static objects filter. So we can't have the sheep spawners too close to the road, otherwise they will try and kill themselves. So let's not do that. I'll add a few more in. They do stay very clustered together, which is a bit weird. But I think I can live with it. And then let's also give them the occasional sort of shady tree within their enclosure as well. Where's my oaks? There we go. Oaks, alders and pines. Also bring a little barn into their field as well, maybe. Well, we have that there in the corner. I'm looking for some kind of like sheep water trough, something for them to drink out of. I wonder if you could maybe do it with a container if we sink it into the ground, maybe. Can we use that as a sheep's water trough? It is quite deep. They'd have to be careful not to fall in. But sort of, I guess. It's a bit rudimentary, but it does a job. Especially if you look at it from the right angle. At the right time of day. When there's a full moon on the 3rd Tuesday of every 4 years, it sort of looks like that. And then how about a little bit of texture? Bit of riverbed thin for them. So maybe a little bit rocky, isn't it? I'm not sure if we'll go with the texture. But you can see how the estate will develop as little livestock pockets just open up around. We'll also get an actual farm building down here as well. So we can see it. And there's one of the ships leaving from the port. Very exciting. Very nice. Just come around there, has he? Must have done. Okay, so with our sheep pen in, these guys seem pretty happy, if not they're localized within their own gangs in the field. We'll have to deal with that. Let's turn our attention toward Tigan Town Centre here. So I've got a few ideas in mind for this. First of all, I would like to bring a little road, probably a little alleyway is fine actually. In just a little simple T-junction format like this, I think. And then over here, I'd like to place some assets down from the UK pack. So first of all, we'll get a school in. I'm pretty sure Khai does need elementary school education, or also need a university at some point as well. We'll place that soon. So let's get our UK urban primary school in here, right on the main road. It's going to be a relatively small village, at least this initial centre. Surrounding builds obviously take place. We do have scope for some sewage works out here actually, as another episode. Thanks to the terraforming that Palm's Time did on the map. So Tigan will certainly have its own sewage plant at some point. Probably some power facility over there as well, I imagine. So we're not too far off needing both of them actually. Power and sewage very nearly due. So I just want this to be tucked into the corner, I think. It's a really nice corner asset. Now we could even go... How about a 45-degree rotation here? Maybe angled on that one there. Seems to be connected there, I think, doesn't it? It does indeed. That's going to be a super impressive corner asset, isn't it? So now I'd like to have a look at introducing a bit of a village green, which is a really common bit of green belt you tend to find around England a lot of the time. So to let that happen, I want to do road through here. Probably an alleyway road is a bit more appropriate, actually. Something like that. And then let's go ahead and search for our church. I should hopefully bring it up. There we go. UK Parish Church. And then we'll have this here. And we'll bring it just a touch away. The road there. How are we doing for height differentiation too? This has a really wide footprint, doesn't it, this church here? Can we at all soften that out, maybe? Slightly. Not the best, but we can blend it in. It'll be fine. Kind of like there's a bit of a rise in the hill, really. It'll make the terrace housing around here look a bit more interesting. We have that there. Let's get some gravel pedestrian pathway knocking around here as well. Just definitely kind of the well-trodden paths. Can we create a pedestrian crossing there? We can. And then it's also snapped to existing geometry. This is a road builder pathway, this one here. Yeah, gravel pedestrian pathway. You can search for it on the road builder interface if you need to. And then let's get some large trees around here as well, for sure. Definitely lots of oaks. Classic English trees. A couple of hickories there as well. Where's the London Plains? Yes, please. Cool. So just a little village green that sits across from the church. That's very UK vibes, that, isn't it? Big fan of that. Love this church as well. Also my favourite asset from the pack, this one. I really, really like it. And then I wouldn't mind a little bit of UK mixed use, I think. We'll have a look what grows in. Let's do some here. And then we'll switch to UK medium density terrace housing as well. So rather than a continual block of it, a lot of the time in the UK you kind of see chunks of terrace housing and then there's a break and then they carry on. So that's sort of what I want to bring in here today. I wouldn't mind a little bit of, again, for lack of a better phrase, a touch of semi might be welcome around here. If we can bring in... Yeah, that's what I'm after there. Just those little T-junctions on the end of the T-junction, I think, is what I'm trying to do here. Because I want all these houses to be kind of facing into this square. And then let's use a bit of pathway there just to remove the zoning tiles off of the main road. I know there is a mod for that, but I forget to download it every time. So I'll have to deal with this, that's okay. And then I think, yeah, so I want the UK semis here, I think. So all these big blocks of it. Let's get the semis growing. Keep that pathway going there as well. Reclaim some zoning squares. And get those in as well. And then we'll go back to some of the terrace zoning. We'll probably do some plop in today as well. As and when it's appropriate. And then, yeah, let's do some more terrace housing along the main road here. Happy to let different shapes and sizes grow in. Very often in England you can find a whole kind of different amalgamation of building types and whatnot. Not always the same style. Are you guys missing water pipes here? You are, because this here is highway. We'll have a little talk about what's going to happen here in a second, actually. And then we're starting to get our terrace housing here down the main street as you pass through. Which I am very much enjoying. Let's keep the semis growing up around here too. Fantastic. Also want to keep a little bit of that gravel pathway knocking around the back of these houses here as well. Especially around the church. Just keep our topography layer on as well. Have this wrap around. We can sort of make it look like it goes into the churchyard here. Actually, if we have a connection there, and then just something like that should be appropriate, I think. Yeah, let's get some trees around here as well. Lots of oaks today. Oaks are the tree of the episode, if you like. Even mind the occasional one kind of in the graveyard as well. Maybe one like right there. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Really kind of blend that into the local landscape. Cool. How we feel about our mixed use over here? Yeah, I like these ones. Let's make these historical. I don't want this to get too high level because they'll start to look a little bit too upmarket for what I'm after here today. That'll be fine. Let's get a pub in here as well, of course. Let's go for commercial UK. And let's grab ourselves the church inn and bistro. We'll have that there. That probably will do a little bit of twisting around here. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Nice church down the main street here, isn't it? How are we looking from this point now? Starting to come together, I think. Take a while this one, but we will get there. Yeah, I'm missing some textures out the front here, but I believe this is an issue with the UK pack. Hopefully it'll be fixed at some point, but we'll wait until that point at least. We've also got some texture around the side of the church here that I wouldn't mind extending just to make that car part look a little bit more sensible, I think. As people actually drive up the side of that. And I think we'll also put in a little fence just to reinforce that vibe as well, actually. We don't have that particular fence, but yeah, because this is a prop fence, isn't it? Which makes it a little bit more difficult to work in. But possibly not impossible. Yeah, we can get away with that, can't we? Maybe take the last one in with MoveIt a little bit. Something like that. Does that make it a bit more believable? Yeah, there we go. This kind of gives a bit more private grounds to the church, doesn't it? Well, the pub, sorry. The church inn is what I meant to say. Well, if I really want to see someone walk across the village green, that would be tremendously exciting. But hopefully at some point. How are our connections doing? There's a number of ways we developed one during the time-lapse at the start of the episode here today. We've had great success with these in Khai before. So, hopefully they'll continue to perform. Now the metro here, we did bring this around last episode. But I can't bring metro through a small English town. So, I don't know. I think we'll build out the town at Tigan today. But I think we'll probably reroute the metro elsewhere. Maybe send it back through the hill. And maybe make it follow the highway. And bring it into a bit more of a built-up area. Maybe over this way. Because I just don't think I can justify having overground metro running through a tiny English village. It would just be very weird. So maybe we'll do it over here at some point in the future where it's a bit more built up. But for the country estate and the country town today, no metro running through here. So returning to this little bend in the road, I would like a farmhouse down here. So let's return to our production chain. And what are we missing? Livestock is the most needed. So we'll do a livestock farm. Let's just grab our specialized industries. We'll do livestock farming. And then just want the farmhouse off to the side here. And then let's do this pretty much straight the way to make a big farm complex here. Yeah, we'll probably do a couple of different farms, I think, rather than just the one farmhouse. I don't mind that. That's quite nice there, isn't it? Let's continue this dirt road down toward the coastline and we'll have some livestock farms by the water here. Which will be nice because so many of Khai's waterfronts have been beach and tourism so far, so it would be nice to have a bit of a livestock waterfront, I suppose, is really what this is, isn't it? Let's also bring the dirt road down toward the coastline, you imagine there would be some sort of water access here. Add that down there. And then let's do another livestock farm here too. This is going to give us that field aesthetic as well, which is such a key visual of English countryside. We can also do some fake fields with tree and bush linings too. Again, I don't want to fill them just to their circle radiuses. Just trying to max them out. And then I think what we will do is save some farm detailing for our time-lapse in these spaces here between the fields where we're removing the trees. So it'll be a good spot to get some extra texture in for you tractor and animal care props and whatnot. I don't mind the fields running up the hill, I suppose. Definitely see that in the UK, but I think I'd like to make it a bit more something like that. Can we soften that out a little bit? Fields on hills are certainly something you see, but yeah, I can deal with that. I can deal with it. It's fine. We will of course get these tiny little buildings popping up, but it should be okay. And that gives us nearly a 10-ton surplus of livestock now, which is much better. We're only missing oil now as base production, but Khai's chain is in a much better state than Edinburgh's is, has to be said. Although we are missing a lot of software, electronics, which comes from ore mining and plastics into processing. Maybe I'll have to set up some more ore mines at some point around here. I did say last episode, when that demand does increase, we do have more foothills where we can open up new pit mines around here to be part of the same complex. But we'll worry about that at a later date. So I'm also going to delete this metro line here as well, because this is actually costing us upkeep. As much as I did like it swooping past the strip mine, I just can't have it head down this way. We'll reroute it to head through the denser part of Tigan in the future, once that exists. Which is a shame, because I really liked how it swooped around, but it's just not ended up coming over here. See, even sometimes my planning doesn't quite go to plan, you know. Sometimes I think it's going to work out perfectly, but it never does. Cool, so we'll get some more zonings around here during our detailing time-lapse today. I'd also like a little petrol station on the way out of town as well. Close to the highway if possible. So why don't we have it here? I wouldn't mind maybe just a touch of commercial or office or something around it. Just to give the junction a bit more purpose. Let's also transfer these water pipes over as well. There we go. Someone just used the green belt. You gonna do it again? No, of course not. That's gonna be the only person the whole episode that walks on those pathways, isn't it? And I bloody missed it. Yeah, he's not turning either. It's okay. So a lot of the time in UK villages, you'll tend to have kind of the older housing down the main street. That tends to be quite narrow roads as well, as you wind through these kind of outer line villages. But then as population demand increases and whatnot, we often end up with new housing estates, kind of a little bit obnoxiously placed within all the outskirts of the village, really. So that's what I'd like to do here. So we have our village centre is developing around the green and the church and the pub. We'll do some custom car parking for the school during the time-lapse, so why don't we have our new estate that the locals absolutely hate, maybe off of this road here, maybe behind the school. So we'll bring this road down, it can come and connect into that one. And then we'll bring up some roads here to hold a new build in the UK that the residents were absolutely furious was built over here, okay? So let's come back to residential over UK, and probably low density detached is the vibe here. And I think I'll keep them to 5 deep. Yeah, the new builds in the UK tend to be super uniform. So we'll keep them that sort of vibe here as well. 5 deep. Again, let's just amend some zoning here. So we reclaim those tiles in the estate where we want them. There we go. So lots of UK detached. Perfect. And then we can end it there. So a real clash in styles. Usually they tend to try and keep kind of local materials, like local stones and stuff in their projects, but they are kind of new build estates in and amongst the old village centre, which always causes lots of furious locals, believe me. There's a few of these near where I live, and they are never, ever well received. So while we're developing here, let's bring in some roads behind the school, which I think we'll use as a bit of a car park, although I don't want gravel here. Let's do alleyways. And we'll probably connect that into there as well, I think. That will slightly break our zone in there, but it should be okay. We can always plop in what we lose. And then let's do some parking. We probably just place some vanilla parking down, I think. Modest parking lot. Or car park, sorry, in the UK area. Do you want to go for 2 of those? No, 1 should be enough. I don't want it to get too car parky. Definitely don't get lots of dedicated car parks in these smaller villages. Tend to just be full facilities like schools and whatnot. I also wouldn't mind another tree at the front there. And then let's also extend some texture work down as well. Let's do this one over here. So we'll certainly grow the town of Tigan out at some point, maybe building a bit more of a Tigan city centre over here. Around the couplet, perhaps, get the supermarket in, some more housing. But, and then some sewage at some point as well. Be a pretty interesting part of the map. There's one pretty different to what we started off with. Sully over here, and then of course Triton and Upper Triton up this way. So we'll keep it quite different to what we've done so far, I think. As that Khai continues to grow, of course. Yeah, so big gardens on these new builds coming in. I'm happy with this. Nice views to the church there as well. Let's also grab some bush linings here as well for our main road. Especially around the church, around the school, sorry, we tend to find quite a lot of landscaping. Put that there. Up into here. That'd be perfect. And we could also do the same around the edge of the road, actually. Almost like it is a little bit of a private hedge, and then I wouldn't mind actually having a little bit of a gravel pedestrian pathway just cut through there. Happy for the pedestrian crossings to appear. And then, just because hedges are so common in UK countryside, pretty much everywhere in the UK really, even the city centres, everywhere has a bloody hedgerow lining on it. Some dry stone wall fence would actually be very welcome for this UK stuff as well. Hopefully that sort of asset isn't too far away in the pipeline from one of the geniuses that make them. I'd love to be able to make my own, but just don't have the knowledge, smarts or time to make stuff like that. So let's also grab some riverbed thin as well. Cool. And that should just help separate our new build estate away from the rest of the village there, I think. Quite tasty with the hedge, and then we can transition to school. Awesome. And that comes back to there. Did we have another UK school? Only the secondary, which I don't think I want over here. We will also at some point have to consider universities for Khai, because its education system is starting to need one. Maybe we can build the university town around the UK here. Let me know actually if I should take any inspiration for UK university towns for another build in Tigan. I think maybe we'll do that next week. That sounds like a lot of fun actually. Whilst university demand is increasing, we can have a look at that, no problem. Cool, but otherwise, I think we've got enough to run with here into a detailed time-lapse. There's a ton of work to do around the estate. We'll do more livestock fields, entrances, trees, and just general niceness. Lots of textures and stuff around the lake as well, and some expanded housework around our executive's mansion to make it look a bit nicer. Someone's living here now as well by the looks of it. Yeah, just the one person, Alexander Porter, which is a very quintessential name. Oh, and his dog, Doc. Oh, cool. The Lord Alexander Porter is in here with his dog, which is very cool. But yeah, he owns and manages the livestock estate here. And then we get lots more detail in and around our village. pathways and bring in some more terrace housing where we want it. And generally to make the village a bit more attractive, a well-trodden pathway up to our hilltop salt and pepper shaker water tower up there. And then also a little bit of farm detailing over here as well, which is wonderful to see some tractors actually moving around. Oh, he is crop spraying a livestock farm. I think he's a little bit confused as to what he's actually operating, right? So either way, let's detail up the small starter village and estate of Tigan, and then we'll be right back. Alright guys, let's have a look around the established town of Tigan, shall we? This has become one of my favourite areas in Khai. And yeah, there's lots of little personality tucked away in here, so check it out, shall we? In the gatehouse that is on the southern part of the estate, we've added in some little gate props, which are really nice from the UK pack. Some stone walls and different shaped gates. Unfortunately, they're not quite road width, so you do have to suspend a little bit of disbelief, but either way, I really love the idea of a gated estate. Super cool. Before we head into the estate, we'll check out the farms, which has had some props added around them. Pretty similar stuff from the vanilla pool, containers, tanks, tractors, farming equipment, planks, pallets, containers, generators, everything you'd expect to come across in a farmyard. Spare vehicles, 4x4s and whatnot. And this has really helped our production chain. We're now in 13.2 tons of animal surplus, which would be very nice. That will really help produce our material goods as well. A little bit of overgrown sand down toward the beach here, just as a bit of water access. Maybe the farmer comes down here to get water. I guess he would have to desalinate it, which he might not have the capacity. But either way, just a little country track that leads down to Khai's shorelines that then looks out over the wonderful ocean. And then likewise over here again too. Just some props, machinery, barrels, silos, and 4x4s in and around the farms, which is all helping our production chain, of course. Into the estate, we have multiple livestock fields, some custom and some respecting the production chains. classic wooden bridge over the stream here as well that heads down into the ocean, which is really nice. I really love the water feature kind of flowing through the country estate here. Really sweet. Over here, another livestock farm, which is operational, of course, rather than just props, which is nice. And then lots of demarcated fields using the London pines, I think. These ones here, just to help mark out those field boundaries. We've mixed and matched hedges on those as well around the estate, you'll see as we discover them. England is littered in little walking pathways. By the way, there is some shorts on the Cities channel that I made for Paradox if you want to check them out. I did some filming around Lancaster and some countryside areas, and that was a lot of fun, so check them out if you haven't seen them. But the point of that is there's a lot of this kind of just dirt pathway rolling through the English countryside around these estates and different areas. So you go for a walk here, walk down to the farms, down to the ocean, and check out that overgrown beach if you want. This is the one built during the episode where they have their little water trough over here, which I think actually turned out pretty convincingly for sinking a container into the ground for a bit of sheep water. Yeah, they are still localized within their gangs. Definitely some kind of sheep dispute going on here, it would seem. But beyond the internal affairs of the sheep, they do seem relatively happy with their surroundings. And then we also have a little garden shed. Down the garden path, if you like, looking out over the water, where you can imagine Lord Alexander Proctor actually kind of comes down here during the summer evenings. Maybe a little bit of a swim in the lake if he fancies it. But either way, a nice little relaxing. There's also riverbed thin under the water, you will notice, which is so good. I literally cannot stop using that texture, everyone. It's so good. I absolutely love Sully for introducing me to riverbed thin. Our house has been expanded. There's also some stone wall up against here with some oak lining up his driveway as you enter into his house from his wider estate. Really love how the fountain turned out there. And then we did some pathway around the side with some hedge lining. Some custom tennis courts here, which I just realised are on a very slight terrain dip. You'll have to forgive that. So a couple of private tennis courts, a little bit of a private greenhouse and botanical garden tucked in here as well, which is very nice, using some of those planter props here. And then a little patio with a hot tub around here, just to kind of expand his garden a little bit, really. And again, taking loads of inspiration from Google Earth for these kind of lords' manors estate. They are all over kind of rural England, so plenty of inspiration to be drawn. And this all looks back over at the local village of Tigan here as well, where you can even see the water tower up on the hill there as well. Another functional livestock farm as part of the estate over here, contributing to that production chain, before we arrive at the other end of the estate, which has another one of those gates, slightly different configuration this time. It's almost like it's kind of not fully open there. So again, not quite the width of the road, but a really nice way just to kind of like mark out a bit of very much private land that isn't meant to be kind of accessed by the general public, if you like. With another gatehouse down here as well. Well, that'll come out really nice. I'm a huge fan of the estate. It's a really unique landscape. And a pretty interesting way to satisfy some production chains as well, I think. So I'm really happy with it. Heading into the village, you'll notice around the rest of the build, we've kind of just drawn out some classic hedge-lined fields. There's also some hedges heading in here. This is a super common sight in rural UK. These kind of national roads, 60 mile per hour, hedge-lined. It's like classic UK over here. And the same thing coming into it from this direction as well, where we've got that little bit of commercial just across here from our petrol station. It's likely we'll start building the wider, more denser part of Tigan around here with the university, around what is pretty much a dual carriageway. So don't forget to get those town suggestions for UK university cities below for inspiration for that. We'll probably do that next episode where we started building over here. As like the city does want university education. Heading in, we have our terrace housing pattern start on the edge of town. And there is nothing more UK than a 2-lane road that is double parked with terrace housing either side. That right there, that's the UK all over pretty much. Just off of the road here, joining some allotments. Again, something you see across pretty much every UK town and city has an allotment. You'll even find them right in the middle of London. You'll find these little spots here. But just a place to grow local vegetables and whatnot. I've done various different combinations of the sheds from the UK pack. There's junk piles in here as well. Different flower pots. some actual plants by themselves. Even dropped in a little tent down here too. And these all back onto our housing over here as well, which is a very convincing aesthetic, isn't it? All kind of randomly marked up with hedge linings because they're never uniform, these things. And then even left some empty as well, as if there was maybe someone ready to come in and kind of, you know, fill this allotment plot with their stuff. And a nice little way to fill some tight space in the UK style suburb, I think. And then our new build, that looks really cool, sat here kind of transitioning back onto the town square or the town green here with lots more hedge lining. Dropped in the UK medical practice here, as we were getting a few ambulance complaints around here, so town definitely deserved its own medical practice. It's even got like the NHS branding as well, isn't it? That's so cool with the red, with the white and blue. I hadn't noticed that before actually. So cool. And then we've also got a little custom playground tucked into the corner of one of the houses here, where it's a little bit more awkward to zone. So just some classic playground props opposite a dog park with lots more walkable pathway, looking back out onto the country estate over there. This comes around into more playground props behind the school. Definitely a place the kids would head to hang out after school until they get picked up. Swings, slides, football goals, and gazebos and whatnot, with a little bit of well-trodden ground around the base of that. Just where you would expect people to walk. Before we do return to that hedge-lined road that heads back out into the wider Tigan countryside over here. Going back into our town centre, we have our church inn alongside our school, with some more light prop work in and around the village green opposite the church, which is very nice with lots of trees in between here. Our new build estate hangs out over this way before we head up the hill. Ended up doing the parallel road tool actually with some dirt roads to draw this out, because I thought it's just going to take ages to do it with the markings, but I thought if we use the road tool and then fill it with the bucket tool, it might make it look a bit better, which it definitely did. So I'll use that tip again in the future. So we just have our well-trodden pathway meandering up the hill here alongside the road. If maybe any disabled people want to drive up with a viewpoint, then they can. I have absolutely no idea why those are there. I did not place them during the video. There is some bugs with CS2 at the moment where it seems to replace decals with things that aren't decals. I know I've seen some other content creators suffer with it as well, so ignore that regardless. Some overgrown cracked car park in here with wonderful views across the farms and the ocean. You turn around, you can see the rest of the rolling hills of Khai, and even a little bit into the strip mine over there too, into the quarry. And I actually kind of like you can't see the rest of Khai from here, and it really kind of helps Tigan pick up that isolated English rural town vibe about it, because you can't see any other civilization. It's all blocked by the hills. It is of course over there, just can't see it. And then that heads up, of course, where the pathway joins up to our big lighthouse / watchtower on the hill up there. And that pretty much does it for the town of Tigan, which has been a incredibly interesting build. And it's always really fun to take inspiration from places where I live for Cities Skylines, so I hope you've managed to enjoy it and indeed take some inspiration from it. A massive shout out to all the patrons that support the channel, with a special roll call to Louis Adlim, Oh Hey Casino, Andrew Perez, and Phoenix MD. If you want to get involved in that, links are down to Instant Gaming and Patreon below, which are the best ways to support the channel. As I mentioned a couple of times this episode, don't forget to get those UK university town suggestions down below, as we will certainly be carrying on building out here with the UK pack, and we'll get a university tucked into Tigan, as Khai is needing one now. Otherwise, please do enjoy today's cinematics, but I'll shut up and leave it there. Right, thank you all so much again for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.